Sylvie, stop. Stop.
If you thought Loki had a complicated relationship with an alternate universe version of himself, just you wait. Kang the Conqueror's first quantum adventure in the MCU is likely to lead to much more conquering to come. Kang is such a powerful villain, and given that the MCU seems to be leading towards his very own dynasty, it may not even be the heroes who turn the tables. Kang's power is so immense that he literally has conquered all of time and space, which means the only person who can defeat him is himself. Luckily, there are plenty of those to choose from. Let's take a look at all the Kang variants who could take him down right now.
I don't think Kang cares about collateral damage, Pym. He wants us gone, no matter who pays the price.
The Egyptian ruler Rama Tut is one of the first appearances of the time-traveling conqueror, though that wouldn't have been revealed for a couple decades to come. One of the first ventures in time travel, Nathaniel Richards traveled to ancient Egypt, and his futuristic technology made the ancient Egyptians crown him pharaoh and regard him as a deity almost instantly. The Fantastic Four also traveled to this time, as there was no record of it in Egyptian history, only to encounter the ruthless leader Rama Tut, Lord of the Seven Suns. In the comics, Rama Tut got the better of the Fantastic Four and went on to become one of the most notorious versions of Kang, after his history was retconned to make him a Kang variant. I definitely think we will see versions of Kang in the MCU. He Who Remain's whole warning at the end of Loki was that his variants, plural, were coming. Rama Tut will definitely be one of these variants, and he may not even be revealed to be a Kang variant until the end of the film he appears in as a nod to his comic history, leaving only comic nerds to know the truth beforehand. Where could he show up? Well, we just so happen to have a Fantastic Four movie on the way to kick off Phase 6. Every live-action Fantastic Four movie has seen Doom as the main villain, so why not subvert expectations and have their first adventure in the MCU be a time-traveling one that allows them to face off against an Egyptian ruler from the future? I'm sure if Rama Tut shows up, he will provide some form of fight against the Prime Kang, so that they can try to prove just who is the greatest Kang of them all. There are a few versions of Kang who sought to avoid his villainous future, and there is most likely no better example of this than the young Avenger Iron Lad. In his own time, a future version of himself saved young Nathaniel Richards from his school bully. He then was showed his entire future, and unlike many other variants, he actually rejected it. He escaped to the past, seeking the Avengers to help him stop his future self, returning to a time where the Avengers were destroyed. Young Nathaniel Richards broke into Stark Industries and found a failsafe program from Vision that would form the Young Avengers. Patriot, Hulkling, and Wiccan were called upon due to their connections to other Avengers. Nathaniel re-engineered his 40th century armor to become the final member, Iron Lad. The MCU is clearly leaning towards a younger outlook, with the introductions of characters like Speed and Wiccan, as well as Patriot, Kate Bishop, Miss Marvel, and Stature appearing in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. I think Iron Lad will add a very interesting dynamic. Likely after some of our main heroes have met Kang Prime, they will then come across Iron Lad, and have to deal with the moral dilemma of wondering if this young child posing as a hero will one day grow up to be the most evil villain they've ever met. The best way for Iron Lad to prove his heroism would be to take on his future self with his heart set on conquering the multiverse. That may not end great for Iron Lad, but it wouldn't be the first time he got the better of his older self. Due to a glitch in the time stream, Kang the Conqueror was split into multiple versions of himself. One version to emerge was a man by the name of Mr. Gryphon. He became trapped in the 21st century, losing his ability to time travel due to a firewall in time. Instead of waiting, Mr. Gryphon decided to do what Kangs do and conquer the time he found himself in. He amassed an incredible amount of power by becoming the CEO of Kang Enterprises. Most of Gryphon's power stems from his ability to gather strong resources, like his acquisition of Stark Tower and all the weaponry within, and his recruitment of supervillains of the time to do his bidding. Mr. Gryphon is the ultimate example of a Kang variant using what is available to them to conquer wherever time they find themselves in. Mr. Gryphon also gained a bit of mystical power, using it to become not only a dominant force in the business world, but in the superpowered world as well. Should Kang Prime come across Mr. Gryphon and his multiversal exploits, he could be an ally, an enemy, or just someone looking for help to escape the time period he is stuck in. Overall, it's safe to say that he would put up a good fight, but can you imagine if Kang the Conqueror, the big multi-phase villain who has been built up for quite a while now, was defeated by a man named Mr. Gryphon? One of the youngest versions of Kang who really made a name for himself goes by the alias Kid Immortus. Taking after the older version of himself, Lord Immortus, this version of Kang is more neutral and he is a straight-up villain. He has a certain mastery over futuristic technology, but not quite as much experience as other variants of Nathaniel Richards. This version actually started out as Iron Lad, until the death of his teammate Stature, which drove him away from heroism back into the time stream. He adopted the new moniker of Kid Immortus and sought to fulfill his own wants and desires instead of fighting for good. Kid Immortus is a darker version of the young Nathaniel Richards who became a hero, so he could be a good match for the Young Avengers in a future MCU film. As stated with Iron Lad, the MCU is introducing a whole slew of Young Avengers, and now you can add someone like Ironheart, aka Riri Williams, to that list. Kang is likely to attack every facet of each universe. Given that his unlimited forms all have the desire to conquer something, it's unlikely that a young version of another variant who could likely be Kang's downfall would actually be the one to finish the job. That doesn't mean he can't get under his skin at least a little bit, proving his ability to defeat a number of young heroes that he himself might struggle against.
I was doing fine.
Kang is talented in many facets, though you will rarely find a variant like Iron Lad, using those talents for good. One of Kang's variants clearly spent his life becoming savvy in the world of business. This version of Kang owned a company called Kang Co., which essentially just privatizes the idea of superheroes. Kang Co. owned all the rights to heroes and their likeness, and used them for profit. He made films and merchandise that turned a pretty penny, making Kang the Conglomerator one of the most powerful men in his universe. He still possessed the ability to navigate the time stream and went back in time to retrieve one of his most valuable assets, a variant of Spider-Man called Spider-Punk. This mission failed, but back in his time he has the kind of power characters like Norman Osborn and Victor Von Doom usually possess, and that power is money. Kang the Conglomerator would be an interesting variant to appear, as he would have to fight Kang Prime in less than conventional means, and I imagine the two would try to team up before ultimately betraying each other. While it's pretty obvious that Kang Prime probably wouldn't be stopped by the Conglomerator, there's something to be said for the amount of wealth and power this one achieved, at least in his own universe. Sure, there's many variants of Nathaniel Richards that could prove to be his undoing by the end of his run in the MCU. However, I think there are several alternate universe characters who may have taken on Kang's namesake that could be part of his undoing. There are many other people who eventually became Kang the Conqueror. Take Ahura Boltagon for example. The son of Black Bolt was taken by Kang and raised to replace him, eventually forcing the Inhumans to fight their very own prince. There's also a very likely candidate to appear, especially given the universe they live in. If the MCU was going to deep dive into the multiverse, then they have to make a stop at the Ultimate Universe. This alternate reality sees variations on many of the characters we know and love. The Kang of this universe is not exactly who you would expect. Instead of Nathaniel Richards, Kang the Conqueror of this world is actually Susan Storm, who lost her mind and took over the mantle of a villain that caused her so much pain. Sue was actually given this time travel suit by her husband Reed, a terrible villain called the Maker in this time. Her mission is often to travel back in time to the point where things went wrong and trying to undo them. So when she fails, she has no problem dipping just as fast as she arrived. A traditional hero in a Kang outfit from another universe could definitely give Kang an unexpected challenge in the war for the multiverse. The Warp World event combined a lot of different Marvel characters into one. Spider-Man with Moon Knight, Emma Frost became combined with Wolverine, and Kamala Khan aka Miss Marvel became Kamala Kang. These two powerful entities formed an incredibly strong character. With all the powers of each person, Kamala Kang had mastery over time travel and the suit that gave Kang such strength, as well as the inhuman abilities of Miss Marvel to stretch her body. After she became enhanced by the Chronogen Mist, she gained the ability to stretch her body through time and space itself. Now, I don't think we will see the Warp World storyline play out in the MCU. If we do, it would probably just be for a moment as a nod to the comic. However, we now have doorways to unlimited universes at our very fingertips, or at least America Chavez's. We've already seen one where everything is made out of paint, so why not stumble across one where the Warp World event is just reality?
There it is.
Characters could have to team up in order to fight the mashup versions of themselves. Most importantly, some of the greatest villains could have their power enhanced. If this alternate universe followed the comics accurately, we could see Kamala Kang give Kang Prime quite the fight. However, the MCU has proven that they are not beholden to the comics, which means this alternate universe could see Kang the Conqueror combined with literally anyone. Oh, the possibilities. After a defeat at the hands of the Avengers, a divergent variant of Kang decided to set up shop in the 20th century and became a businessman known as Victor Timely. He ran for mayor of a town called Timely, Wisconsin, and given that his last name was literally the name of the town, he won pretty easily. He set up shop here for quite a while and created factories and businesses while serving as the town's mayor. At the same time, in this world, the actual Kang the Conqueror was setting up his city of Chronopolis, using his robots to monitor the actions of his counterpart, Victor Timely. However, Victor seems happy where he was, and even when he grew too old, he would have faked his own death and then replaced himself, claiming to be Victor Timely Jr. Now, if this character were to show up in the MCU, I really don't think he would pose much of a threat to Kang the Conqueror, but instead I think Kang would use him as someone he could trust, maybe even to run his own recently acquired organization that oversees all time and space. That's right, I don't think Victor Timely would go directly against Kang the Conqueror, but he could be the next CEO of the TVA. The Scarlet Centurion was another one of those comic villains that wasn't revealed to be a variant of Kang until sometime after his initial debut. While he is an intimidating physical presence, the Scarlet Centurion is also an excellent example of Kang's strategic ability. He conquered the modern age, using the Avengers as his pawns. Characters like Thor and Captain America even saw him as a benevolent ruler, seeking his advice when it came to conflicts. This is how the Centurion was able to pit his Avengers against past versions of themselves. The Scarlet Centurion is actually the same variant as Rama Tut, the Egyptian ruler Kang became, who decided to take on a new guise to try and defeat the Avengers. Eventually, he would return to his Rama Tut disguise, but he would not be the only one to carry the name of the Scarlet Centurion. Another Kang variant actually conquered Washington, D.C. alongside his son, who at the time went by the name, you guessed it, the Scarlet Centurion. That Kang actually wound up killing his own son, meaning that the axe-wielding warrior did not really pose a threat to him, but that could definitely be different in the MCU. Whether the Scarlet Centurion who comes for Kang Prime is a variant of himself or even variant sons, he's actually one of the more powerful versions who could give Kang Prime the fight of his very, very long life. For a long time, Nathaniel Richards was believed to be a descendant of Mr. Fantastic Reed Richards. However, there is some evidence that may point to his lineage being linked to that of Victor Von Doom.
I have so little respect for those who do not know their place.
Kang was a huge admirer of the Latvarian leader, meeting him at several points in time. There is one alternate version of Kang the Conqueror, however, who actually became Dr. Doom. This variant was one of the absolute strongest, as he possessed all the powers of Kang infused with the armor and intelligence of Dr. Doom. Now, truthfully, as cool as this would be, it's likely that the MCU will be trying to introduce the real, full-fledged Victor Von Doom into the universe at some point very soon. Introducing a Dr. Doom that's actually a Kang variant would be extremely confusing. However, once Doom is established, perhaps in the Fantastic Four film, there could be a future version of Doom that is actually Nathaniel Richards descended from Victor. This Doom could join the fight of other Kang variants to stop Kang Prime, though I doubt the real Dr. Doom would let him stick around much longer after that. Overall, I think a Dr. Doom version of Kang could make a cameo appearance, but likely won't be the variant to ultimately take Kang Prime down. That doesn't mean he won't pose an issue to the people of his own universe though. One of Kang Prime's biggest threats could be someone who we've already met. Long ago, during the first multiversal war, it has been theorized that Kang Prime, along with all the other Kang variants, were defeated by He Who Remains. It was he who set up the sacred timeline, clipping branches that would allow his other deadly variants to eventually be born. However, the theory also states that He Who Remains was unable to actually kill Kang Prime, and instead trapped him in the quantum realm. Now that He Who Remains is quote-unquote gone, the Kang variants are on their way to wage a whole new war, and Kang Prime may finally be able to find the means to escape. However, given that time is not the construct we thought it was, we could see a reborn He Who Remains, coming from a different point in his timeline prior to his death that took place outside of time to fight in the next multiversal war. And at this point, the guy is undefeated. He Who Remains could very well be the surprise Kang variant that scares Kang Prime the most. Now, it would be cool if he beat him again, or it could be even cooler if Kang shows his power by defeating the one person who has beaten him before, making way for another variant to try and beat Kang Prime, proving themselves the greatest conqueror of them all.
Just a little bit easier to kill.
Lord Immortus was more of an observer most of the time. Even so, Immortus is by far one of the most powerful Kang versions ever seen, and could be the undoing of Kang Prime in the MCU. He, time and time again, sent various powerful villains from different timelines like Ultron and Onslaught to slay the Avengers. He resides in his castle in a dimension called Limbo, which he of course conquered. He created powerful guards like Tempest and gained control over the monster Alioth, using it to destroy his enemies. He employed classic Kang techniques like mind manipulation on Avengers like Iron Man to tear the Avengers apart time and time again. Lord Immortus appeared in the Kang Wars as one of Kang's most powerful variants, and helped disintegrate members of the Avengers from all time periods. Immortus has sometimes been an ally to the Avengers, but only to stop alternate versions of Kang the Conqueror in his quest to be the strongest of them all. Lord Immortus has been the one to defeat Kang the Conqueror in the comics several times. He tricked him into destroying the Council of Kangs, and has trapped him in limbo on more than one occasion. Assuming the comic-accurate version of Lord Immortus is introduced, even if only slightly different from He Who Remains, it could be this variant that is the ultimate undoing of the MCU's next multi-phase villain. It's safe to say if the Avengers can't get the job done, they may have to look towards less than reputable characters to help them defeat the mighty time-traveling villain. Which variant of Kang do you think will play the biggest hand in taking him down once and for all?